Welcome, everybody. Woo, 7 o'clock Friday night. Well, 7 o'clock me. Who knows what time it is by you. I'm John Aravosis. Welcome. Everybody start introducing yourselves where you are. I'm going to go live on TikTok here. As always, lots of light. Boom. Well, we got sunlight coming in. That's okay for now. There we go. Let's see what's going on with my TikTokers, my 101st TikTokers. Come on, there we go. Manda Bear, you're first again. You amaze me, Manda Bear. You did that a few days ago too, I think. I know it was you because I remember seeing your name and knowing it. Welcome, TikTokers. We've got the YouTubers here too. Exactly. Introduce yourselves where you're all from, if you would, if you feel like it. Because we take a couple minutes just to have folks kind of dribble in slowly after, I'd say 3 to 5 minutes, usually by 4 or 5 after. That's when we start officially because it gives folks enough time to get here. Ireland. New York, Oregon, nice. Manda Bear is very good at getting first on TikTok. I don't know how she does it, but be aware you've got stiff competition there. Yorkshire, you've been here before, I think. So I remember seeing Yorkshire. Yeah. And the hat, thank you. The first sorting hat. Thank you. Montreal, Paris, oh super. Toronto, London, Quebec. Shiva, thank you for that. Ooh, the universe. I'm getting all sorts of fun things on TikTok already. The TikTokers are way ahead, as always. Edmonton, Alberta, lovely. Went skiing in Banff once years ago. It was quite nice. Belgium, Gatwick. I think I've seen you before, Gatwick, so I'm thinking of the airport. Seattle, Florida, New Zealand, Tennessee, Alabama. Banff is nice. Yeah, it was nice. We went to Kananaskis for a congressional event meeting with Canadian parliamentarians, and we were there like an extra day or something, and the guys at the hotel were like, want to go skiing? And it was like June or something, I think. And I was like, you ski in June? Oh, yeah, the season's still July. I was like, I'm there. So I borrowed a bunch of ski gear and we went skiing. It was lovely. Absolutely lovely. Hello, Sweden. Woo! Love Sweden. Been there twice. A little pricey for me as an American, but did love Sweden. Just went to Stockholm and then Gotland, which was nice. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you like the videos. Norway. Oh, sunflower. Oh, very nice. Ooh, Oklahoma. That was quite topical. I didn't even know they had it. There's apparently a sunflower image you can throw on TikTok, which I did not realize. Wow. Very topical. No, my haircuts. Well, I did get a haircut a week ago. Just so folks know, usually we go for a couple minutes here and then we dive right in. Just waiting for a few more folks to arrive. So the fact that somebody's asking about my haircut is not what we're going to be doing for the next hour and 15 minutes. But we're at that part where everyone introduces where you're from. And we hang for a minute, another minute or two, and then we'll start right in. But yeah, the haircut. I got the haircut a couple weeks ago. Didn't like it. Just wetted it down again because it was exploding. That sunflower is very cool. Thank you, Flower Lady. And very topical since it is the official flower of Ukraine. Mom is good. Didn't talk to her tonight yet. Going to see her Sunday, so we're excited. Yep, French presidential elections. I'm not a big fan of Le Pen or her party, I must say. Sheep brain, Nicolina, no one told me I ate sheep brain when I was in Gotland. Let's put it that way. Doesn't mean I didn't. Oh, that's cool too. I've not seen that before on TikTok. That's interesting, that little farmhouse or whatever. That was new. News Daddy. Happy to be your news daddy. Thank you. Guatemala, Ireland. Sasha's good. She's napping at the moment. She's in her little bed under my desk. But hopefully we'll visit her later. Yeah. Okay, another maybe half minute, and then we're going to dive in, guys. But you can keep introducing. Oh, yeah, Sasha comes with me to mom because I'm going to mom's for a month. So, because I can work from I'm going to be doing this from the bedroom upstairs at mom's. I already ordered a light and one of those arms for my phone for the TikTok. And then for YouTube, folks, I've got my laptop. And hopefully I'll be able to set this up at mom's. Yes, I've got a couple different Christmas cactuses. We'll do that tour another time. Hey, J-To. Slav Ukraini. All right, guys, I think we can start. It's a little slower tonight, but that's okay. But only barely, though. But it kind of figures because this is the Putin's Bay of Pigs. That's interesting. That is an interesting analogy. Somebody on TikTok just said Ukraine as Putin's Bay of Pigs. It's like, talk amongst yourselves. All right, guys, welcome. I'm John Aravosis. We will begin. But again, feel free if you're still coming in to introduce where you're from and stuff. Everybody sort of enjoys that. And I will talk. Usually I go for about 20 minutes or so. Yesterday was longer because we got into this whole big discussion about the boat. So that was like a big discussion overall about that boat sinking. But I'll do about 20-minute summary of what I think is the important news today, why it matters. And then we'll jump into questions and answers. We will, what I always, thanks, Chloe. I thought, the swan, that may be that is a different swan. Thank you for that. I've not seen that swan before on TikTok. Usually I'm seeing the one with like the duck and or the swan and the duckling or whatever. Thank you, Zoe. That's sweet of you. I thought you had a question. I was like, damn, she's getting a question in already. No problem. I'm happy to help. But anyway, yeah, so I'm going to intro. Then I know it's a ship. It's a ship, not a boat. Everyone keeps yelling at me. It's not a boat. It's a ship. Of course, now it's a reef. But, I'll be here all week. Anyways, for questions. So I'm going to do about 20 minutes explaining stuff. Then we'll go to Q&A. On TikTok, there's some kind of a Q&A function that hopefully you guys know how to use. I think it says Q&A or something. And I just learned on TikTok, by the way, because I had to move my computer because the sun's coming in. If I put the phone farther away, I can actually read your stuff without my glasses. See, the things I'm learning. Now it's a submarine. Exactly. It's a reef. It's a submarine. It's a hat. And on YouTube, you guys know you can just put the questions there in the box at the bottom. Thank you, Chloe. And if you want to get a super chat question, just because you're feeling generous and you want to support my work, that would be lovely. I always promise for the super chat questions, I will jump to them first. And I'll even, if it works in terms of the issue I'm talking about, I'll jump to the super chat question next, as soon as I'm done with the section I'm on here anyway. So sort of special favors for that because you're supporting my work. All right, guys, let's jump in. So, I don't feel like there's a lot of news today, except I had some like revelations, and I think U.S. policy is changing, and that's very interesting. So I wanted to talk about that for a while. The Russians kind of freaked out last night, as we know. We were talking about it right when we came on, 7 p.m. Eastern time U.S., so about 24 hours ago. And we were saying that the Russians were starting to like bomb. Thank you, Ashley, for that. The Russians were starting to bomb everything they could, or at least every town they could in Ukraine. There were air raid sirens, I think, everywhere in the country. They bombed a factory, I think, outside of Kyiv. It said that it was some kind of a military-related factory, might have even been a factory that had something to do with the cruise missiles that the Ukrainians used to take out the Russian ship. But they're still blowing things up. They're doing a lot at Kharkiv as well. Kharkiv is the second city, 1.5 million, second largest city in Ukraine, northeast, really in the scary zone now because Kharkiv is right at the north of that whole area the Russians are trying to take over. So Kharkiv, thank you, Janice, for that. Kharkiv is another area they're really going to, they're bombing hard, and the question is whether they'll try to take over Kharkiv or not. At least 10 people have been killed in Kharkiv, I think, in the last day, including a 7-month-old baby, as Russian forces used multiple rocket launchers against the industrial district of Kharkiv at about 4:30 p.m. today, which would have been, whatever. For America, that would have been this morning. For Europe, a couple hours, maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon for Europe. I wanted to kind of jump in. My large topic, I've sort of been looking at having maybe large topics every few days. I think I did see some sunflowers there. Thank you. And my large topic today is changing U.S. policy. Thank you for the hat. I was reading a couple different tweets. I did a video on it actually, but I didn't pull up the tweets here. One is from Gary Koss. Oh, hi, Kharkiv. Oh, we have to stop to say hi to Maya from Kharkiv. If anybody's checking in from Kharkiv, we are definitely going to stop the show and say hello to you. So everybody on TikTok, welcome Maya from Kharkiv, who is in Ukraine, in the city being bombed by the Russians right now. So welcome, Maya. Hope you're doing okay. The interesting changes. So Kasparov, famous, super famous chess champion in Russia, right? Soviet Union back then. And he has become a very outspoken civil rights activist, human rights activist over the years. And he was talking about how his sense that that U.S. policy is starting to change, that it's almost getting to the point where the U.S. may even want Ukraine to win. And he still doesn't think it's gone far enough. Then I was reading a comment by the defense editor of The Economist magazine, and he was saying that, and I don't have it, I was going to print it out, but basically he was saying that Russia kind of made the mistake of not fully realizing how much their behavior was going to change the situation. And that because Russia came in and started doing horrific war crimes, started becoming a fascist state again, that Russia is going back to Stalinism, it's going back to the Soviet Union, it's going back to the Cold War, and that the combination of Russia becoming a serious threat because of the fascism at home and a serious threat because of the war crimes and now genocide abroad have changed the West's and America's perception of Russia and of this battle so that it no longer is just a bad. Now, I'm expanding on what the Economist guy was saying, but I think, and I'm not giving you my view of how I perceive the battle. I'm saying how I think the U.S. and even NATO perceived the battle. I think initially they perceived it as, I sort of did some more notes here, Ukraine couldn't win, right? That was the assumption. Ukraine couldn't win. So even if we wanted to help them, super fast, thanks for that. I'm going to put a star on it so I don't lose it. Even if we, and Brenda, thank you for the flower. Even if we wanted to help Ukraine, even if we thought it was important to help Ukraine, Ukraine wasn't going to win. They were going to lose in a few days. There's no point in even doing it. Write it off. Second, I don't think we thought it was very important strategically. I think we felt bad for Ukraine. Now, not me, but I'm saying the West and the American presidency. But we kind of felt like, it's Russia's backyard. They're going to destroy that poor country. Isn't it sad? But, it's not our business, right? And thank you, Jordy, for that. Everyone's doing sunflowers now today in honor of Ukraine. I wish I even knew we had that earlier. So you've got one, Ukraine can't win, being the supposition going in. Two, the impression that this is a strategic issue that doesn't really matter. It's a backwater issue. Three, we were afraid of getting involved because we were also afraid of Putin. Remember, World War III. Thank you, Girth. I'm laughing because literally everyone's doing sunflowers now, like every 2 seconds on TikTok. All right. I can't stop and thank all of you. They're literally once a second now people are doing sunflowers on the screen. This is very funny. You guys are cracking me up. The YouTubers are wondering what the hell's going on. The TikTokers appreciate. So yes, I'm not going to stop every sentence for the sunflowers, but know that I'm seeing it. So thank you. So I'm even going to hold this up so I can see you guys doing this. So, all right. So to continue. We also were afraid of Putin. We were afraid that Putin, remember, was going to get mad. Oh my God, if we beat him, if we enter the war, if he sees our troops, he might use nukes, he might use chemical, right? So we were also very afraid of this guy. Now, then Russia goes all fascisty, like I said. Then we see the war crimes. Then we see the genocide. Then we see Russia start threatening Poland, the Baltics, Finland, Sweden, right? Like in the last day, he's been threatening those guys. I'm going to talk more about that later. And we see Ukraine starting to win this thing, right? After 3 days, Ukraine hasn't lost. After 2 weeks, Ukraine hasn't lost, right? I mean, then the Russians get beaten in Kyiv and have to withdraw totally. The Ukraine wins the first part of the war in Kyiv. Crazy, right? Then the Ukrainians sink a Russian boat, the flagship of the I was going to say Baltic too. It's funny. It's like an error you want to make calling it the Baltic. The Black Sea. Hugely important. And Ukraine doesn't even have a navy. They had like one boat. Remember, Ukraine had like one boat that they sank at the beginning of the war because they didn't want the Russians to get it. Ukraine doesn't even have a navy and they sank the Russian flagship. So you've got all of that happening and the U.S. going, okay, every supposition we made coming into this war has been turned on its head. Now you're entering the flowers on there too. Thanks. I do appreciate it, guys. It's very funny. And I do see it. So add to this Putin's ongoing threats that now are starting to ring hollow, okay? He claimed he's going to move nuclear weapons into the Baltics if NATO embraces Finland and Sweden, if they join NATO. Well, guess what? He's already got nuclear weapons there in Kaliningrad, which is right south of the Baltic states, right north of Poland. He's already got them. So he's making a threat that doesn't even stand because it's something he's already done, right? Then, this is my other favorite. He's threatening to declare war on Ukraine if Ukraine keeps attacking Russian territory. And you're listening to this going, ooh, scary. You're going to declare war? Like, I mean, really? Like this isn't a war? I mean, so you're going to change the terminology from special military operation to war. Scary. It is war. He's already killing civilians. He's already committing genocide. This is like, the H-man in World War II going, ooh, we're going to rename the battle next and you'll be scared. So again, stupid threats that don't matter. And my favorite stupid threat today, all three of these came today. My favorite stupid threat today was Putin issued a démarche. A démarche is a diplomatic letter. And he issued, thank you, Tara, I do see that, issued a diplomatic letter to America. And it was like a 2-page letter or something like that, saying how very angry Russia is. And this is my favorite. If we don't stop supplying weapons to Ukraine, there are going to be unpredictable consequences. And again, I'm like, I think of that was it a squirrel or was it the chipmunk? Remember, like, dun, 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 unpredictable consequences. I mean, I don't mean to joke about it, but it's a joke. It's a freaking joke. And unfortunately, this goes back to what I've been saying for weeks, because I was warning at the beginning that all this talk about, oh my God, this could be World War III, we're going to help. And we're doing this publicly, remember? We want to help, but we don't want to help too much because we don't want to engage. And no matter what happens, we'll never engage militarily because that would be World War III. And we had President Biden and then Blinken, the Secretary of State, repeatedly talking about World War III. And now they're doing sunflowers on YouTube as well. Just so you folks know, on TikTok, you've started a trend. I hadn't quite noticed the comments. This is cute. But our leaders adopted this concept and this threat. Oh, Putin's crazy. Who knows what he'll do? He might use nukes, World War III. So that Putin then embraced it and said, yeah, I'm just going to keep threatening the crazy stuff. And if I can, you're trending TikTok. You're amazing. You're famous. Well, at least you're famous on my YouTube live. It's something. So yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately even though the concerns might have been valid, right? I mean, Putin could go nuclear. He could be crazy. I don't know. But I think we were enabling the crazy stuff with him because he saw, hey, the West is worried. The West is even saying, the whole MiG fiasco, right? We were going to send in MiGs and then we didn't because we were scared. We were scared of what Putin would do. If I'm Putin, I'm going, this is freaking great. They're scared of me. So I'm just going to act crazier and crazier to scare them. Well, now he's getting crazier language-wise, but it's not doing anything, right? Here we go. So now we come to the U.S. And again, anybody who's been watching the show for a while, and if you are, thank you. I appreciate it. You don't have to be. But I've been talking for a few weeks on how I've been seeing Biden's language change and how I felt that it was not fully strategic, but it also wasn't a mistake. What Biden's saying was not a mistake. It was an indication that Biden himself was starting to change in how he viewed this war. And we saw this with the change in the war crimes language. Remember, initially, the U.S. said, well, they're not war crimes. Then the U.S. said, well, we don't want to use the word war crimes. Then we said they're war crimes. Then we said Putin's a war criminal. Then we had Biden say Putin's a war criminal who should be put on trial, right? Then we had Biden say around the same time, thank you for that. Around the same time, remember Biden was giving the speech in Poland and he said, my God, this man can't remain in power. And everybody started freaking out. Oh my God, is that a change in policy? Well, but we were seeing Biden become harder and harder, angrier, more worried, more digging in his feet, something, right? But more polemical, almost more warlike, whatever it is, right? Then genocide. Same thing happens on genocide in the last week. A week ago, the U.S. says, I watched it. Well, we don't believe it's met the technical case of genocide yet. But what happened? Then we get asked about it and we say, well, we're not gonna answer about words. We don't care about specific words. So now they're getting wishy-washy. Then Biden comes out and says it's genocide. So all of this to me, I'm sorry. And then the final change, what happens this week? The U.S. puts this new 800 million, with an M, aid package for Ukraine. Apparently, the first part of the shipment is arriving in the next day. So thank God they're getting some of this stuff sent out immediately, which is great. Now, it arrives in Poland, probably Warsaw, they said, and then it's got to get shipped over. So, could take some time, but at least getting it from the U.S. to Ukraine, this stuff is happening in a couple of days so far, which is great. So the aid package coming this week, right? Initially, wasn't going to include attack helicopters. Thank you for that. Then Zelensky talks to Biden by the phone and says, we really need these attack helicopters for the big war brewing in the East. Biden adds the attack helicopters. And everyone goes, that's interesting. What else is in this package? Artillery. Artillery is very interesting because, again, we've been playing this cute game of what's defensive versus offensive, and we'll give them defensive weapons, but not offensive. And, weapons are weapons. Artillery, example. But we were considering artillery and the attack helicopters. I mean, literally, they're called attack helicopters. We were considering them too offensive, not offensive, but offensive versus defensive. Now we're giving them because U.S. policy is changing and it's getting more aggressive. I don't like the gradual change because I think a gradual change is dangerous. The analogy I gave you guys was consulting work I've done before where the client's like, I love your idea. Let's do half of it. And you're like, well, but if we do half of it, then we're not going to get the media attention. We're not going to get the grassroots interest. And I feel like we're still kind of doing half a loaf for Ukraine, but we were doing a quarter of a loaf before, so it's getting better. Maybe 3/4 of a loaf, but thank you for that, Wanda. So we're getting there, but it is a good sign. I mean, it is a good sign. Biden's changing language, changing weapons packages means the U.S. in particular, I would say possibly NATO too. Look, the EU, the whole thing with oil blockade, like not boycotting the oil from Russia was a no starter. Well, now we've got the EU actually drafting language that they're going to debate amongst the other countries. And if there's another huge war crime, that thing could maybe go through, which would be huge because I mean, that, it's not the EU's fault, but that thing is funding Russia's war. They get, $30 billion a month, I believe, $30 billion with a B dollars a month, or euros, same difference at that. The exchange rate is close enough, a month from Europe for the oil, which is gas too, but oil even more so, which is just huge. So anyway, I wanted to talk about that, like I said, because it's a larger issue, but I think it's very interesting that we're seeing this change. And again, the change is going hand in hand, and I'll just summarize and go on, with the perception that this war became, nasty little Russia nobody cares about attacking little Ukraine. That's such a nice country, but nobody cares about. To Russia has now become the Soviet Union again. Russia has now restarted the Cold War, and this battle in Ukraine, they're fighting and we're starting to like these people. They've become human to us, right? Now they're no longer a statistic. We like this president. We like these people. We're seeing the deaths and we're seeing they can win this. So we're identifying with them. At the same time, we're saying this isn't just about Ukraine. He's threatening Poland. He's threatening the Baltics. So now anyway, the whole thing has changed and I'm glad to see it change. I'm just less thrilled that it's been a gradual change. So there. A question, super fast Daza or Dazza, if you're Italian. Why doesn't the West say Ukraine is buying? Why don't the West say Ukraine is buying weapons? I don't know what you mean by that. Why don't the West say Ukraine is buying weapons? I don't know what you mean. You don't have to spend any more money. Write again what you mean by that. Just write a little bit more in the comment if you would. And I'm going to keep going, but when it's there, either one of the monitors get my attention or I'll look again. Don't pay for it. Just write a little bit more of what you mean by that. So Russia's talking about a national mobilization. That's not as much of a threat as I think they're panicking a little bit. I'm going to turn on my light a little bit higher here as it gets darker here. National mobilization meaning, oops, here we go. Oh, did I have 2 stars that I missed? Maybe I did. Hold on. I'm going to grab actually super fast again so it's sitting here. Oh, you know what? Let me get this. I did kind of miss a few questions. Sorry, before I jump in with the national mobilization. I see. Superfast had an earlier question. Sorry, I missed that one. Did Ukraine buy cruise missiles in 2018, and can you see them ever sending them into Russia? I don't know. I would be very surprised if we would send cruise missiles to Ukraine back then. I would be I don't want to say definitively, but I would be very surprised. I do know that the cruise missiles Ukraine used on the Russian ship, and now we're pretty much assuming that's what happened. We're taking the Ukrainian story for real, was a missile they developed, which I'm kind of blown away that Ukraine, again, underestimating Ukraine. Hey, Kiev. Oh, somebody's checking in from Kiev. Everybody wave on TikTok to the person checking in from Kiev. Actually, now is on TikTok when you bring up the sunflowers. For the person just checking in from Kiev, Ukraine. Throw up those sunflowers to welcome our Ukrainian friends who are in the TikTok with us. There you go. But anyway, yeah, so the Ukrainians, and again, I think that's the thing that blew our minds was watching the Ukrainians creating their own cruise missiles. I don't know about whether they bought them from someone else. I would just have a very hard time believing that they would buy it from us. I have a very hard time believing that. I just don't think we would have given it to them. Sorry, let me check. Oh, that's okay, Becca. That's all right. Sorry, let me scroll down and see if you had explained a little bit more super fast. And then I've got more questions here. Okay, you guys are throwing in a lot of questions. I'm saving them here. Don't worry. Super fast. There we go. Okay. Superfast was explaining a little bit more. Why are the West saying they're giving weapons as that would get Russia upset? Just say Ukraine is buying them, doesn't matter what price. Oh, that's interesting. Well, first of all, I'm not sure why you announce it anyway, right? I mean, I'm not entirely sure why we keep talking about what we're giving them. Like, Ukraine needs to know what we're giving them. Our Defense Department needs to know, or Slovakia or whoever, but why mention it publicly? This is nice. There's lots of sunflowers coming up on TikTok now for the Ukrainian who just checked in from Kyiv. It's very sweet. I wish I could record it, but I'm not touching my phone because I know it always spits out on you guys. But it's a really interesting question as to why we keep announcing this. Like, for example, I would be satisfied as an American if the Ukrainians simply said, we got a wonderful shipment from the Americans this week, and they promised us an even better one next week, and we're very happy. That's all I need to hear. I don't need to know how many helicopters, how many this, how many that. So I'm not entirely sure why we're announcing that at all and why the Ukrainians are. I don't know. Now, the only thing is, from the Ukrainian perspective, it's been helpful because we're now, God, what are we, day 51 or 52, I think, of this war? For the last 7 weeks plus, every time a shipment came in that didn't have enough of the right stuff, it allowed the Ukrainians to go, yeah, that's nice. What about the planes? What about the artillery? So it actually gave them an arguing point to almost embarrass us a little publicly, saying we want more. But I really don't know. You're right. I mean, well, let me say the final point here is it's also possible that the Russians know everything we're sending anyway, so that there's really no point in trying to hide it from them because they know. However they know, maybe they just know. So that's a possibility too. Oh, yeah. Why don't they say Ukraine's instead of saying? I saw actually Richard Fisher is reiterating, which I do understand from what Superfast says. Why don't they just say they're buying them instead of we're giving it to them? I don't think it matters. Thank you for that on TikTok. I don't think it matters. I don't think this was the whole issue where we were playing that game with, Poland can't give the MiG to Ukraine, but if Poland gives America the MiG and America gives the MiG to you, it was like Russia knows the MiGs are coming from Poland. It doesn't matter if Poland funnels them, through America and Germany. They're Polish MiGs. Germany knows. If I were Russia, I'd be ticked off at Poland. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, it's just silly. I feel like buying them or giving them, maybe to the American taxpayer that makes a difference, but to the Russians, you're giving weapons to kill our people. I don't care if you bought them or given them. So I don't think it would make a difference. So there you go. Sorry, I'm looking down here because I'm going to queue up. I've got the questions queued. God, you guys are out of control with the questions today. Everyone's like, we're really having a spunky Friday with everyone. It's like tons of questions. I mean, the super chat questions on TikTok, and you guys with your flowers are just lovely on TikTok, on YouTube, and the flowers on TikTok have been cracking me up. You guys are amazing. All right, let me start going through here. So, okay. So, all right, super fast. Got that. Okay, Richard, thank you again for that. And that was nice of you, Richard, to do that because you could have just written that, but thank you. Ooh, that's an interesting name. You're almost scaring me that this name is Irish or something. Michela Midon? Michela, I'm going to guess. I'm not sure. Or Michela Midon. Has the U.S. and NATO responded to April 12th Russian letter? Which was the April 12th? The Russians just wrote today with actually, I shouldn't say this. Today we learned of a Russian démarche. So I don't know whether that's what you're referring to. And the Russian démarche today was the one that said there will be unprecedented consequences if we don't stop giving weapons. I don't know what the letter was from the 12th. I'm sorry. If you want to give me a little more detail, just write it in the comments normally, and we'll just make sure the moderators see your comments since I've got another question here. But don't pay for it. Just put a little more explanation of what it is. If it's something different, I don't know of any other letters going on than the démarche today. So I would say I don't know anyway, but I'm curious what the letter is, because at least I can comment on that, on the substance of it. Bash Brannigan, can Ukraine win back border territory without physically entering Russia? Yes. Except it gets a little tricky, meaning you've got, a couple different things. Depending where you are, again, I always like to say Ukraine's a square, even though it's not. You've got Crimea in the south that the Russians stole. Well, it's bordering the sea and it's bordering Ukraine. So it's not bordering Russia, so that's not a problem. You've now got this strip of land going from Crimea up along the coast, sort of to the northeast. That's the strip of land Russia's been trying to get a hold on so they can have a land connection from Crimea to the eastern Ukraine that they want to steal and make part of Russia. And then, in other words, this whole land connection from Russia all the way to Crimea. Well, that land connection isn't by Russia either. So I guess it would be not easy for them to take it back. But if they were to take it back, they wouldn't have to enter Russia to do it. Eastern Ukraine as well. Now, this Donbass everyone's talking about, that region as well it borders Russia, but you could get right up to the border and not have to enter Russia, right? And thank you for the pride flags. And you wouldn't have to border Russia, right? So there's that. I don't know. I guess the question becomes, if you're shooting artillery and doing all these kind of things, you do run the risk. If you're trying to get all of your land back up to the Russian border, of course you run the risk of your artillery shell going a little far and landing in Russia, right? Or you're shooting in the war, or you're attacking Russian troops and they retreat across the border. Well, maybe you go across the border, a tank. You go across the border to finish it, or the tank goes across the border and you've got artillery and you shoot the artillery to try to kill the tank because you're not going to let a tank survive just because it crossed a couple of feet over. So, they could. I guess the real question there becomes, does Ukraine feel they have to be careful to not, step into Russia as much as possible, to not physically attack Russia as much as possible? They've certainly done several incursions, we know, but they haven't done that much. And I think we've been asking ourselves, like with the convoys and everything else, why they're not doing more. And maybe they are trying to be careful a little bit. Maybe they are a little worried. And honestly, I also think the U.S. up until now probably told Ukraine, look, we're giving you stuff, but you know what? Try not to go inside Russia as much because we're afraid it's going to make things blow up more. I am from Chicago. I am not in Chicago, though I will be next week. I'll be for the next month, actually. All right. So let me put this back. All right. Now let me go back to the lives. Make sure I didn't. Janice, thank you for that. Make sure I didn't miss anything. All right. Mods, if I missed anything, I saw that sorting hat in the corner of my eye. Thank you. I'm just making sure I didn't miss any of the super chat questions on YouTube. Okay, guys. Yeah, let me know if I missed anything or if I asked for a follow-up. If anybody. Oh, here you go. Janice, thank you. Let me see here. If I asked for a follow-up or anything. Doc Remington, not sure if you already mentioned it, but the Shoigu saga. Oh, you mean the defense minister with the heart attack? You know what the funny thing is? Until I learned his name, Shoigu always sounds Japanese to me. It makes me think Shogun or something, like Shoigu. I just think like a Japanese, warlord or something. Shoigu. Shoigu, who's the Russian defense minister, was missing for a while and now had a heart attack. Next thing, he's going to trip off his balcony or choke drinking his tea, right? Is back. Allegedly, he was poisoned, suffering another heart attack and died. Allegedly, he died? Oh, no. I saw that sorting hat. Thank you. He died? Has anybody confirmed that? Oh, that's interesting. Somebody do a little Googling right now. The guy's name is Shoigu. You could simply Google Russia defense minister and check the news and see, is there any news about that? Oh my God. That would be wild. I was going to say amazing. That would be wild news. Oh, someone from Ukraine here has a question. John DS Dev. Let me look. All right. Oh, there's John. Hey, I see your follow. I see a second one. Let me see if you had one before here. Yeah, the questions come, so I saw that hat. Thank you, out of the corner of my eye. I see one thing, but I'm thinking you had one before. Hold on. 1 second here. What I'm seeing is this. After Bucha, we want same with Moscow a little bit. Did you have anything before that comment, though? That's what I'm trying to see. If there was a first part I missed. Let me see. Did I miss the first part? Hang on, guys. Just looking at the questions on YouTube. It gets a little more difficult sometimes. Looks maybe a question anyway. All right. Oh, here we go. Suture Chip don't work in Ukraine. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, you could just send the question. Oh, I see. You could just send the question. That's all right. I mean, you can send it anyway, but you're Ukrainian. You've been through enough hell. We don't have to put you through YouTube hell as well. I'm going to guess what you mean by this is, Maddie Man, thank you for that. I'm going to guess what you mean by this is, after Bucha, we want the same with Moscow, a little bit, meaning the kind of nasty, horrific stuff the Russians have done. There certainly is a little bit of vengeance going on in the Ukrainian heart, wishing the same thing on the Russians. I'll put it that way. That will hopefully also get me around the YouTube and TikTok censors, so I don't say anything too bad. But I think that feeling would be understandable. Yes. But which is also why I think is what he's getting at. You're seeing the Ukrainians go across the border and blow things up occasionally. The question is on TikTok, they're asking, is the Russian defense minister, did he in fact have a heart attack? Excuse me, not did he have a heart attack. Are credible news sources reporting? My God, Angela, look at this. Angela is saying, Angela M., he's in the ICU, had a massive heart attack from unnatural causes, is what the headlines say. Now, where are you seeing that? Only because I like to see sources as well. Oh, Kharkiv. We're getting like so many Ukrainians today. Now we've got a Kharkiv. Sofia Borkovich from Kharkiv. Ask away, Sophia. We will, of course, take your question. Boy, it's Ukrainian Day here. He's in intensive care. Oh, my God. Yeah, unnatural causes. I mean, we know what unnatural causes means, but wow. Oh, you're getting, this is good. Sophia, you're getting, people on TikTok are putting up sunflowers. I do TikTok at the same time I do YouTube, and the people on TikTok are putting up sunflowers for you. Thank you, TikTokers. That's very sweet. Actually, I kind of like this. Every time we have a Ukrainian come in, okay, let me pull it up. Every time we have a Ukrainian come in, we should have people just throw up the sunflowers. I think that's nice. All right, let me see here. See, this is nice. Everyone's putting them in the comments too. All right, Motek Missy, a super chat with your name. Okay, we have that one. Okay, I'll come back. I do see the other two questions from the other two folks. We'll come back to that, but I want to see if I'm missing. Okay, sorry. I'm trying to like help out the Ukrainians here first. Catherine, very cute. Okay, okay. Dobry ludu. Okay, I can only read a little bit. I see Sophia. Privit. That's all I could get. Borkovets, privit. All right, the Ukrainians are now talking to each other. This is too cute. All right, if somebody grabs something from what Sophia was trying to ask or whatever, I'm happy to jump in. We have now the Ukrainians are like communicating with each other on YouTube. I'm loving this. It's like our own little, well, I was going to say the UN, except we've got another Ukrainian on TikTok too. Okay. Give love on TikTok for the TikTok. We've got the TikTok Ukrainians and the YouTube Ukrainians. It's kind of like we've got different factions here. We should make you guys all play in a big soccer game or football game. The TikTok versus the YouTube Ukrainians. All right, I'll answer a few other questions here anyway. And then, like I said, if either of them had questions and you moderators see it, when I jump back into reading the live comments, let me know. But right now I'm looking at the starred questions. Annie Bobani, I love that. Earlier today, I saw Ukraine Friends posted a video of Ukrainian soldiers thanking Americans of emergency medical kits. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I didn't see that. I mean, who knows if I suspect they weren't our kits because, who knows, but that's still really sweet. They ought to be doing more. They ought to be doing more of that because it's wonderful for propaganda purposes, meaning people here like to get the feedback and see, oh my God, you know what I mean? You're doing it. And that's why I tried to put up videos from several of the individuals we helped in Ukraine, but they ought to do it more because it's just a great way to boost morale here and get people to donate even more. But that's great that they're doing that. Oh, did somebody else? I was Slav Ukraini. Didn't we had a little bit of I saw some Ukrainian across the board here. Geroyam Slava. I don't know what that means though. Slava, I know, is glory. Geroyam, I'm not sure. Sounds Ukrainian to me, though. Our kids, get out of here. Oh, that would be funny. I'd be surprised if they got there already, though. I mean, I did Well, I told you I was shipping them out as they came in. So the earliest ones would have gone to New York about a week ago. I mean, I'd be very surprised they were our kits, but what the hell? Oh, glory to our heroes. That's what it is. Okay, thank you guys. Oh, that's very cool. Well, that's neat, Annie. I did not know. You know, I'll write down Ukraine Friends. I will check it out on TikTok. No, it's nice. I just think it's nice, and it's also kind of feels nice to hear the heroes, you know, just to hear the feedback. That's great. Maz Ghost, not to be confused with the ghost of Ukraine or the ghost of Kyiv. Why doesn't Ukraine take advantage of the chaos to take out the Russia-Crimea bridge? Interesting question. The coast would be better protected with a few key bridges. I don't know. I mean, I was surprised in the same vein. I was surprised that Ukraine hasn't been taking out more of the roads and railways from what we hear coming from Russia into Ukraine, especially from the east, right? Because that's how they're bringing stuff in. We know, for example, those big Russian convoys, have been coming down the highways. Well, blow up the highways. I mean, now the question is what munitions Ukraine has, how much they've got to spare. Do they have enough? Do they have the weapon systems that can go that far? I mean, you know, maybe the artillery has to be close. The artillery, somebody was telling us the other day, what artillery can go 25 miles, 30 miles, something like that. Well, they're not 30 miles from the border, so that's a problem. You know, you would need a plane. I mean, anyway, maybe I don't know whether they've got the equipment to bomb the highway. I guess planes. The question is whether that area, the airspace, the Russians control more. I don't know. But that's an interesting question because that's been the question I've had for a number of these things, why they aren't. Like the convoy came up the other day on the news, and somebody was asking one of the generals or former generals of the U.S., why aren't they bombing the convoys? And he said, well, they certainly can be. He goes, I'm sure they've got their reasons, but they certainly could, meaning he wasn't sure either. So, yeah, I'm with you. The Kerry Brass guy, I remember that name before. If Russia gave up, how long would we keep sanctions in place? We had to shut down operations there. Oh, interesting. And I wonder if and when we may be able to restart. It depends how they gave up. Okay, let's pretend Russia just gives up and says, okay, we screwed up. This is going badly. It's over. We're pulling out. Well, do they pull out completely? Do they pull out of all of Ukraine? Do they pull out of Crimea that they annexed in 2014? Do we require them to pull out of Crimea? Or do we say, oh, we'll let them, okay, see you guys. Somebody was saying goodbye on TikTok. You know, do we require them to pull out of Crimea as well that they illegally took in 2014? What about war crimes? Do we require them to turn over the soldiers or the commanders or the generals who committed war crimes? Do we require reparations? You know, Ukraine, the last I saw was Ukraine had at least $100 billion with a B dollars in damages to the country. I'm sure it's probably more than that. You know, Russia certainly owes them war crimes or reparations. Would they pay it? Would we require it? So that's some of what's going to, even if Russia were to do the right thing and say, okay, you know, this isn't working. Oh my God, we're stopping. We're pulling out. Would that be enough at this point? I don't know. I think some of the sanctions might lift, you know, and also some of the sanctions might lift as part of a quid pro quo, like saying, well, if you stop fighting, we'll do something for you. But this is so bad right now in terms of, because we got to the point where these are war crimes and they're being called war crimes and it's being called genocide, it makes it very difficult to step back. I'm not saying it shouldn't be called genocide and war crimes, but once you start doing that, how do you stop sanctions on a government that committed massive war crimes and is genocidal? You know what I mean? Like it's very weird. You know, if Putin were to get overthrown and the war stopped, that would help because the new people could come in and say, that guy was crazy. You know, this was wrong, blah, blah, blah. And now all of a sudden, you know, we lift the sanctions for relations with the new Russian government. So I don't know, man. I don't think anything's happening anytime soon. I mean, don't listen to me. I don't know, but I can't imagine anything's happening anytime soon. I think so. You know, good luck. Missed question, be kind from Turtle Overlord. Oh, Turton Overlord. I'm reading Turtle Lover. Whatever. Turton Overlord. Do you think if they manage to take eastern Ukraine and Mariupol, the Russians, will they claim victory and end the war? I mean, if they're smart, maybe they would. The thinking has been that Putin would certainly like to take Eastern Ukraine as a better bargaining chip for negotiating, so that he'd have more. He just said he's got more when he's into the negotiations. Some of the concern has been that if Putin successfully takes over Eastern Ukraine, that he may get greedy because, first of all, he was embarrassed by the loss in Kyiv, that they just lost. Second, this loss of this ship is really bad, and that hurt. And he's going to feel the need to do something to make up for that ship. So the question is whether Putin then decides he wants to take Kharkiv, whether then he says he wants to try and go at Kyiv again to take it. That's the thing. If he were smart, he would declare victory and take, because he'd be getting almost a third of Ukraine in the east. And he'd have the land corridor to Crimea. He'd have a lot more than he started with. Now, the question then becomes, do we stop the sanctions? No. Do we stop funding Ukraine? No. So Ukraine, how does the war stop? He could try to end it. How does the war stop if Ukraine goes, no, we're just going to, America's going to keep sending artillery and Europe's going to keep sending artillery and we're going to keep blowing you up. And you're going to have a guerrilla war. Not just a guerrilla war, a war where you are. So that interesting question. I'm not convinced it would work though. Was this another one here? Oh, from Sophia. Okay. What was Sophia's? Sophia Borkovich or Borkovitz question. I am wondering, why do you think our government gave up Crimea without any stipulation? Give me more. I'm not sure if you're referring to something I said. I'm not sure if you're talking about 2014 or if you're talking about like right now, like if there were a settlement now. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Tell us more, please. I'm just not sure what you mean. Or are you saying, well, there's a couple things. In the negotiation, your government did kind of give up Crimea, which I thought was weird. The negotiations now that are dead for now, but like 2 or 3 weeks ago, Zelensky was saying that all that back and forth deal was being offered. It included for 15 years we'll negotiate over Crimea. And I remember hearing that and going, you're giving up Crimea? That's what it's now. I don't know. Is that what you're asking? Because I thought that was a little weird when I heard that was the proposal from Ukraine. But I'm not sure if that's what you mean. But I missed a lot of these things. Sorry. Be Kind is saying Russia has sent a formal letter to the U.S. Yes, warning that shipments of sensitive weapons from the U.S. and NATO were exacerbating tensions in Ukraine and could lead to unpredictable consequences. That is true. That is, I talked about that early on. I think it's a stupid threat from Putin, and I think we should stop listening to his stupid threats. Putin has more to lose if he starts a war with NATO. Putin isn't even winning the war with Ukraine. And God bless Ukraine, but NATO's even better than Ukraine. Well, in principle, with what the Ukrainians have done, I would not want to presume anymore because we made a lot of wrong presumptions about Ukraine's military. But NATO, 30 NATO countries taking on Putin too. He'd be insane to take on NATO. The Russian people would go yay right before they lost everything. It would be insane. So I know that letter. Yeah, I talked about it earlier. That letter I just think is stupid. It is Putin throwing out threats. Unfortunately, because we empowered him early on. Because early on we said, oh, we're so scared of Putin's threats. It could be nuclear war. And Putin went, ooh, this is good. They're scared of me. I'm going to keep making more threats. So yeah, I would tell Putin the famous words in World War II were nuts. Basically saying, nah, forget. Or in Greek, oh, similar to the nuts controversy, or but telling them just to go, Russian president, go F yourself. Would be what I would be saying in that question or in that situation. Sorry, let me look here to make sure, since so much stuff came in here. 2014. I don't know enough about 2000. So Sophia was saying she was about 2014. I know Russia took it. I was aware, but I don't know enough about what happened and how your government responded at the time. I guess, are you saying that you didn't go to war with Russia yourselves at the time? Having said that, from what I've heard, you guys, the Ukrainians, did a hell of a lot of preparation from 2014 to today in terms of really gearing. We were talking about this at lunch the other day, actually, with my friend Marion and her husband, that that the Ukrainians, he was making the point that the Ukrainians did so much preparation post-Crimea, post-2014, to really, amp up their preparations for another war. I know the Ukrainian troops also did a lot of training with NATO and the US, and I wonder how much of that happened in just the last several years. Obama was president. Trust me, there's ample foreign policy failures to go around. I absolutely think we should have done more for Crimea, and we should have done more about Syria. Absolutely. And I still am a big Obama fan, but absolutely do I think we should have done more. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about back then about sort of what happened. So other than I could see Ukraine at the time thinking Russia was going to crush it if they went to war. Thank you for that, E. Del Rio. Oh, John, here you go. Okay, so here's our Ukraine friend, John Dees. And then I'll try to jump into a TikTok question too. What if Putin uses nuclear? What will the West do? Ukrainians, this is a Ukrainian asking. Ukrainians hope Putin's nuclear weapons will be too bad and not blow up, but what will the U.S. do? That's a point we've talked about a lot, and a lot of you guys have brought up this question of to what degree do the Russian nuclear weapons not even work anymore, since so much of their stuff doesn't work? The problem is we have to assume they work. We can't assume they don't work, because we could be in real trouble if they do work and we think they don't, right? You're going to do mutual, well, exactly. And as somebody said that Grumpy just said mutual destruction. That's exactly it. We have to assume they work, and we have to assume if we use nukes, they use nukes. If they use nukes, we use nukes. So bad for everybody. That's just the way you've got to assume it. Now, the question in terms of what will the U.S. do, partially it's going to depend on what nukes Putin uses. And I hate to say it, but does he drop? First of all, okay, is it a small nuclear weapon, a tactical nuclear weapon, right? Is it a big nuclear weapon, like the kind you blow up a city? That's the first question. 2, does he drop it in Kyiv? Does he drop it on 20 troops in the field? Does he, even better, does he use it to blow up a bridge or a factory that's empty? So now he hasn't killed people, but he has used a small nuclear weapon. I fear with NATO, you're going to get into all these weird territories of grayness where they start to debate this. They say, well, he didn't really kill anybody, but he did use a nuke, but it was a small nuke, and they're going to start playing games, I fear. Having said that, any use of nuclear weapon means, I think, immediately the oil's cut off from Europe. Absolutely. I mean, then it becomes very bad. It becomes very bad. Then, the U.S. mobilizes. We're going to probably have to send troops over. I mean, we may not go to war, but then we have to send 100,000 more troops to Europe. I mean, it becomes a very serious matter. The question for Ukraine is, and for you, I'm not sure what we do for you next if that happens. I do know overall for NATO and everything else, it means we're going to have to be war ready at that point. Maybe we finally give you the fighter jets, but I'm not clear that we just enter the war. Oops. Okay. Let me grab. I'm putting highlights on these so I don't miss them all. Okay. Yes. Be gone. So I just found John Dev's question. Perfect. Boy, you guys are just like Question Rama tonight. It's amazing. My God. Oh my God. Okay. I'm like highlighting all these questions. You guys are killing me here. Matthew, thank you for just simply donating. Another question. I might have had a unnatural causes heart attack. Okay. I've got 5 questions in a row here. Okay. Carrie Brasky, thank you for the perspective. Follow-up. Why not a full embargo on Russia? Not sure why Cuba is still being embargoed, but Russia is not. Good question. I mean, first problem is I always call that my drag when you do that on TikTok. It makes me laugh, my little rouge. The first big problem is that oil is the big thing. Oil would make a huge difference with the Russians. But it is, the numbers are around 30, 40% of I think Germany, at least 40% of their oil comes from Russia, maybe 30% of the natural gas. And Europe overall still might be a quarter of their oil or 30%. It's a huge amount, especially compared to the US. We just don't import much Russian energy at all. So that for the Europeans, it's a big deal. It's a big political deal because prices would go up massively. And if it were implemented, it would have to be probably gradual. So they could gradually phase it out. Prices go up gradually. Having said that, if it were done in one fell swoop, it would cause a lot more damage. It's a fair question. Now, The reason, though, is just that. Cuba, nobody trades with Cuba. Well, because there's an embargo, but Cuba's a small country, big deal. With Russia, there's so much energy trade with Europe that it would have a profound impact on Europe, so they've got to be careful. And it makes sense. When you sanction somebody, you've got to pay attention to, as much as I want us to go after the energy, you've got to pay attention to how will the sanctions impact our own countries, and are we doing too much damage to our own country? It's something they've got to consider, even though, we don't like the idea of having to weigh things. Let me, given that Ginger, given that the U.S. finally sent attack helicopters, do you think the deal for Polish jets is to be revived? Also, any news on the 100 tanks that went missing? No news on that. No news on that. Well, I'm sorry. Yes, that was the Poland. I haven't seen anything about that. So there were reports several days ago that 100 really good tanks went missing, T-72s, the good Russian ones, in Poland like a week ago. And then a top Polish defense analyst confirmed that the tanks went missing. It went missing by unnatural causes. And the assumption was that the Poles basically gave them or sold them or whatever to Ukraine. And my guess is the U.S. could have even paid for. We could have paid the Poles. We could have told the Poles. I mean, who knows? But we probably facilitated the deal too by promising the Poles new weapons. No word on that. The jets, that's the deal now. We're talking about where Poland was going to give the MiG fighter jets to Ukraine, and then everybody got scared and blah blah blah. The U.S. is getting closer to doing that. I don't think we're there yet. But the fact that we're doing attack helicopters and the fact that we're doing artillery, which is another thing we weren't doing before, we're getting closer to sending MiG jets. Yes. Now, there is a real concern about the MiG jets not the MiGs. No, the MiGs, they've got to be able to service and everything else, but they've got MiGs. So I don't know whether that's a problem. And honestly, they should know. Poland. Ooh, we got Poland checking in on TikTok. Hello, Poland. Send Poland some love, TikTokers. You've been a wonderful ally, well, to all of us, but particularly to the Ukrainians. Yeah, I don't know. That deal will. All I'll say is we're closer. We're getting closer because, as I was saying at the beginning of the show, I think you're starting to see the U.S. and NATO go from let's help Ukraine, but we're kind of afraid if Ukraine wins, because if they win, then Russia could go nuclear. To oh my God, Ukraine's got to win this. Russia's got to lose this, because this has become a much more dangerous game now. In terms of Russia becoming a fascist state, Russia becoming the Soviet Union, Russia becoming, the Cold War, Russia threatening Western Europe or Eastern Europe, Russia threatening the Baltics, Poland, right? So we're closer. I don't know if we're there yet. Lori, do you think the war will go on long enough for Finland and Sweden to join NATO? And if so, do you think that would make Putin back down? Well, a couple things wrapped in there. I don't think the war either way will impact Sweden and Finland joining NATO. My suspicion is Sweden and Finland are pretty scared, understandably, and they've seen what happened with Ukraine, that basically the West said, we really like you and we'll give you a lot of weapons, but you're kind of on your own. And one of the Swedes was weighing in. We had a Swede here with us yesterday and was weighing in and saying that, yeah, we always just kind of thought you would come in and help us, even though we're not part of NATO. And now Finland and Sweden are saying that if you're not a part of NATO, it actually does cause a problem, that we may not come in and actually help you with troops. We may send you weapons and say, good luck. So the war stopping early doesn't change that dynamic. Russia is still now a newly fascist state. It is now the Soviet Union again. It is now everything. We're now back to the Cold War. So they still would want to join. I don't think it makes Putin back down. I don't think it changes. Well, okay, excuse me. All that them joining NATO does, it makes it less likely that Putin's going to mess with them. It doesn't make it any more or less likely that Putin's afraid of NATO. Putin already knows NATO can destroy him after what the Ukrainians have so damaged the Russians at this point and shown that the Russians weren't as powerful as we thought they were militarily. Putin knows NATO can destroy him. 2 additional countries, even though they're really good countries, isn't going to make a difference in the sense of balance of power. Can we win or not? We can win. What it does do is it says Putin won't touch Finland and Sweden if they either become a part of NATO or they apply and NATO says you're in. September 1st is the official date, but between now and September 1st, we promise we will protect you as if you're a NATO member. Then Putin's not going to touch them because Putin knows it is World War III, right? So there you go. Sophia, mi amor. I'm sorry, you were responding to Lisa. There was not actual president at the time, but the whole government we have to be silent. I wonder, I mean, Sophia's talking about 2014 again, when the Russians took Crimea. Okay, this is just my political gut. I don't know Ukraine too well for like 2014, but I think at the time, the Russians were the big bad guys. You were a little country, even though you're not a little country, but you know what I mean, compared to Russian military, superpower, haha. And they took Crimea. The world was not going to help you. And Ukraine said, what are we supposed to do? The bully's punching us. We can't fight back. If we fight back, he's going to take the East too. If we fight back, maybe he'll take Kharkiv, right? So my suspicion is at the time, Ukraine said, we just have to take it. I mean, not take it. We just have to suck it up. We just have to accept it. But then in the ensuing years, Ukraine did so much in terms of building up its military. You built these cruise missiles. You did thank you for that. You did the U.S., the training with NATO, the training with the U.S. and Russia. I mean, literally, Russia invaded to pretty much take your country. You didn't have a choice this time. If anything, Russia kind of screwed up in that way too. They almost gave you a choice in 2014 because they kind of took Crimea and went, "What are you going to do?" This time, it looked, frankly, like they were going to take your they were going to take your capital, they were going to take your government, and that forced everybody to stand up and go no. So the government had no choice. And then we discovered, what do you know? The Russians aren't that good at this, and the Ukrainians are way better than we realized, or than we realized at least. So I don't know, but my guess is, ironically, the same thing that stopped us from helping you enough at the beginning because we didn't think Ukraine was strong enough is the same thing that might have stopped the Ukrainian government from standing up to Russia back in 2014 because they didn't think Ukraine was strong enough. That's going to be my guess. Lindsay Vanderberg. Leonid Nevzlin, a Russian-Israeli oligarch, is who reported, interesting. He's the one who reported the Russian officials, the Minister of Defense's heart attack. Oh, and the arrest of 20 Russian generals for embezzlement. Ooh. Intel is from his sources in Moscow, but unconfirmed. Ooh, that's interesting. The arrest of 20 generals? What people have been talking about is whether Putin is sort of getting into this whole Stalin mode where he's just going to start arresting people left and right. And I think to some degree, try to blame them for the war. Shoigu at this point, I mean, the defense minister, let's face it, at this point, somebody's head's got to roll. Now, mind you, Russia being what it is, I wouldn't be surprised if that was weird. Oh, that was my hand. I wouldn't be surprised if what was I saying? Sorry, my thing talked to me behind me. There we go. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Putin's the one to blame for the invasion going so badly, right? I mean, that's the problem. So, no, that's interesting. Got the heart attack thing, and I hope I hope to God the 20 Russians have been arrested for embezzlement. Now, mind you, those 20 generals probably did embezzle. One of the big themes of the Russian military has been that apparently over the years, I mean, we've known this. The thing is, they've known it too. The military leaders just steal the money. They just steal the money. And basically, and what I read today was interesting about that. In other words, you say you're buying weapons. You say you're getting better wheels for the vehicles. You say you're buying ammunition for storage for a war. You lie. And then when the war starts, it's what I was reading today. One of the experts said, it's not like you tell the truth when the war starts. You don't go, "Oh, hey, President Putin, just so you know, I totally stole that money. We really don't have that many troops. We didn't do the trainings of the troops. We don't have nearly as enough ammunition as we need. And all those fighter jets we said were working, they're really not working." You don't tell him that. You'd say, "Okay," and let Putin figure out. So to some degree, it could very easily be true that these Russian generals were embezzling. It could be true. If anything, it's good news because it's chaos. And chaos means that this, it's almost like at work, like when they change all the leadership and everybody, and you're all kind of like, "Oh God, this sucks." Because all of a sudden your entire office changes because of who's on top. It's going to create chaos throughout the military, which is great. And it's going to create fear that all the other generals are going, "Oh my God." All the other people working for Putin are going, "Oh my God." Like, we knew he was a murderer, but now he's like murdering the guy working next to me. So all of that is good news if you want Putin to be having problems. Yeah, I hope that general thing is confirmed. That's really interesting. All right, I'm scrolling back a little. Oh, okay. You guys did put stuff that I didn't see. All right, hold on. I'm scrolling back to the questions now. Matthew, thank you for that. Okay, I'm back to Lindsay. Thanks. All right, I'm gonna star these questions so I don't lose them. Hang on. All right, I've got Mama Kendra. I remember your name, Mama Kendra. You sound like my friend with the name Mama Kendra. Maybe you are, or that I don't recognize from the photo. Hang on, scrolling down. Philip put a comment, but I'll still put it up. Okay, Katie, I remember you. Hold on, I've got you in the list. Okay, Sophia's signing off. It's 3 a.m. in Ukraine. Thank you, Sophia. You're wonderful. It's lovely to have you here. That was really sweet of you to stop in. Thank you. Sophia from Ukraine is signing off. She's got to go to bed. It's 3 a.m. That makes you even cooler that you came to hang with us at 3 in the morning Ukraine time. You're amazing. Wow. All right. If I missed up, I'm going to now get the questions from Mama Kendra, Philip Simpson, and Katie Cat. If I missed anything else, mods, remind me in a minute. This is cute. Sophia, just so you know, they're putting up more sunflowers for you on TikTok if you're still there. Thank you, TikTokers. That's very sweet. Mama Kendra. Did you see Zelensky's interview in the Atlantic Monthly? Nope. Oh, but I want to read it. That's with Ann Applebaum. Yeah, it's supposed to be very good. It's a great article. Definitely check it out. Thank you for all you do. Thank you. Yes, that is supposed to, there's an article just came out, an interview in the Atlantic Monthly that Ann Applebaum, who's a big Eastern European expert, Russia, Poland, etc. I actually met her at a party about a month ago, or right before the war started. But looking like a greaser here. Oh, forget it. She interviewed Zelensky, and apparently it was a very good interview. I mean, my friend David Frum had retweeted it and was saying that it was a very, I want to say very personal, or like she really got into stuff people don't get into with him, apparently. It was just very interesting. So no, I want to check it out. The good thing about the Atlantic Monthly, by the way, is I think, you've got to pay, but you don't. You get like 4 or 6 articles a month or something for free. So if you haven't been there, you can go read it because it'll be your first article, but definitely check it out. No, thank you for mentioning that. Actually, I think I had retweeted David's tweet mentioning the article so folks would see it, but I never got to actually reading it myself. I was back at the dentist today and they had me there for 3 hours. I was going to kill them. 3 hours. Imagine, and I mean, I'm reading about Ukraine on my phone just to prepare for this, but for 3 hours, I was ready. I was like, okay, how much more can I read about Ukraine sitting in a dentist chair? Anyway, all right. Thank you, Mama Kendra. Philip, you were saying, Philip Simpson Jr. was saying, think Putin's inner circles stages CU and make deal with UN. Oh, stages a coup and makes a deal with the UN. Well, okay. I don't know they'd make a deal with the UN. I think they might make a deal with NATO or, because at this point I'd make the deal with NATO. I would. Now, the question becomes, so basically he's saying, do you think Putin's inner circle might stage a coup, overthrow Putin and, make some kind of a deal with NATO or somebody else about it? Now, first of all, they could let us know. I don't know how much help we can give because we'd be very careful. Yes, the Atlantic Monthly, exactly. I call it the Atlantic. At one point it was called the Atlantic. I don't know what they call themselves now, but the Atlantic Monthly, correct. It's dangerous for us to get involved in a coup because if we fail, then we're at war with Russia, obviously very dangerous, and Putin is still there. He'd be very angry. The question becomes who might try to overthrow him. From what I was reading, a lot of some folks were saying they felt the intelligence services were the people most at risk of or most dangerous to Putin. Because in Russia, 2 things, the intelligence services apparently are the protectors of the faith, the protectors of the motherland. Even though you think it was to be the military, the intelligence kind of sees themselves more that way. So anything that starts to become a threat to the country's existence internally, they turn against, even if it's the leader, the president himself, right? And with the sanctions, with the military being proven to be so weak, and now also Putin, the boat sinks, so Putin is even doing more damage to his military. That potentially becomes more of a existential crisis for the country that the intelligence agencies step in. The other thing is apparently, I'd love to get the details on this, but one of the former CIA guys was saying that the intelligence agencies, the intelligence services in Russia, the security services have like 100,000 of their own guards or whatever, like 100,000 of their own troops in essence, so that they are their own military power, so to speak. So very interesting as far as the threat they could do. They could. No one sees it happening right now, although frankly, if 20 generals were arrested, that gets very interesting. Because again, embezzlement is an excuse. You're going after them for something else. You're going after them to blame them for the war, or you're going after them because you heard somebody was planning a coup. That's possible too. So, who knows? Ketty. Did you hear that the Russians might be attempting a recovery of possible nuclear weapons on the ship that was sunk in the Black Sea? Yes, but we don't know. I was watching a couple different experts, not watching, but reading a couple different experts today talking. There appeared to be evidence of a salvage operation going of the Russians maybe attempting to salvage, some weapons from the ship that went down, from the Moskva, the big, beautiful flagship the Ukrainians sunk yesterday, right? I was also hearing that if the Russians staged an immediate recovery effort to try to get things out of the ship, it means there were some weapons on there they really want. Could be nuclear, could be some of the hypersonic missiles, but it could be something more than just whatever the normal missiles and things they have. CNN reported a couple of days ago that they didn't have nuclear weapons. Again, some of the people chattering about this, the experts were saying it's possible. It's possible. Having said that, I don't know whether one of the guys on TikTok was weighing in, one of the readers, but who's a military guy. I don't know if they had the kind of if any of their nuclear would work unless they were tactical nuclear. But I don't think they had the kind of weapon systems to develop to send a big nuclear bomb. But maybe the tactical ones like artillery or something like that, maybe. I don't know. But there has been chatter about it only because it does look like they were planning some kind of a salvage operation. And that would mean there was something special there. But the something special could still be the hypersonic, which are those new missiles they use that go super, like 5 times faster than the speed of sound or whatever. So it could be that. All right, back to the regular ones. Oh, okay. What did I miss from Matthew Gitter? God, we had so many questions from. Oh, here's Matthew's. Okay, so many questions from you guys today. My God, I didn't even finish. I'm like the news. I didn't even go through all the news we had, but that's okay. I think it's always more interesting to have these kind of discussions anyway. Matthew Gitter asks, do you think Russia should be put on the list of U.S. state-sponsored terrorism? I was looking into that today, actually. Ukraine, Zelensky asked Biden to put Russia on the official list the U.S. creates, of state-sponsored terrorist countries. So that Russia is a terrorist state or something like that. What I was reading was, I even wrote this down because I wrote something that it might not make too huge a difference in the actual sanctions, because the sanctions are so strict on Russia right now. It's not clear, maybe it would affect the oil, but we'd have to be careful because we don't want to unilaterally cut off Europe's oil or Europe's going to be pissed, right? So that's something we have to do with Europe. So if we declare it, maybe it becomes automatic, right? So there's that problem. The stuff that was interesting about this, though, I wrote it down. According to some legal experts, if Biden blacklists Russia as a sponsor of terrorism, any company, individual, or state that wins a court judgment against Russia could demand access to any blocked or frozen assets of the Russian government or Russian oligarchs. The designation could lift diplomatic immunity on Russian officials and allow families of alleged terrorist victims to file lawsuits in U.S. courts against Russian officials. See, so that gets interesting because then, do you have 43 million Ukrainians who can file lawsuits in American courts to get money from Ukraine? From Russia? That gets interesting. Now, I do know that when the U.S. was asked about this, I don't know, sometime in the last couple of weeks, it was Jen Psaki, I think, who's the White House communications director, the spokesperson, And she didn't rule it out. She didn't say, no, we're not looking at that. But she didn't rule it out. I saw part of that. I saw CNN talking about it. I'm not sure if I saw the interview. I don't think I did see. I saw them talking about it, and I also saw them talking to the newer investigator that's over there from the International Criminal Court. I saw his interview, but I didn't see that. All right, just help me if I missed anything else here. I still got to do some TikTok questions because, sorry, TikTok, they've been throwing all the super chat questions on YouTube, and I had promised, thank you, Debbie, for that. I had promised I would answer. Okay, I'm going to do a TikTok question. Let me know if I missed something on YouTube, please, while I'm doing this. All right, TikTokers, I'm going into the Q&A. As always, you've got a ton. God bless you. When do I think the war will end? That's the hardest question because at this point, okay, I mean, if something happens that Russia just has a blowout and is able to just take over east of Ukraine, and as I think Sophia or somebody else was saying, all of a sudden declares, victory and they stop, is the war over? Does Ukraine say, screw you, we're going to keep fighting and mount a guerrilla war and everything else against you so the war doesn't end? I think the harder question is, it's hard to see how the war ends. Because, for example, just that, if Russia gets enough that it wants to stop, Ukraine's not going to stop. Ukraine's going to say, we'll just keep firing at you, and the West will keep giving us weapons. So I'm not sure how the war stops, which is why I'm not sure when it would end. And yeah, that's the question, Yuki Mom. If we're sending helicopters, why not send jets? We were sort of getting to that before with what one of you was asking. Now that we're doing helicopters, why can't we do the jets? We're playing a game. We're not intentionally playing a game, but we're playing a game with, rhetoric and words of, like we said, what's offensive, what's defensive. I still think there's a very good chance that Putin called or had somebody call and told Biden, if you send those jets, we're bombing them in Poland. We are going to bomb the airfields in Poland. And I wonder if that's what happened. And that's why everything else we're getting close to sending, but the jets are still, the verboten, they're forbidden. We don't do it. Makes me wonder. I know I yawned. I'm tired. Well, the thing is, 3 hours at the dentist today. I was ready to die. And then I had to come home. I had to walk my dog. I had to prepare this for you guys. Again, I've been sleeping really poorly. I think the war stuff is just I don't feel it getting to me, but I can tell it's affecting my sleep. I've got to get a better night's sleep. It's hard though. I keep waking up. Did I miss any questions? I'm not seeing the moderators complaining about questions. Thank you again for that, Debbie. Malcolm, what did Malcolm speculate? Malcolm's my friend. I love Malcolm. Malcolm Nance speculated the Russians let the Moskva sink after it was hit because so many dead sailors are on it. I was going to mention that too. I mean, they still haven't talked about, maybe I did mention, they still haven't talked about the sailors. There were over 500 sailors on that thing. One account I saw said maybe 510 sailors. Where are they? If most of them are okay, why aren't they showing us them? The experts I saw were saying that when that ship blew up, a ship like that with the kind of weapons it had, and catching fire, the weapons that basically they'd be lucky if the entire crew wasn't killed, is what a lot of the experts were saying yesterday about this. We've seen reports that 15 crew members went to a hospital, 50 others were picked up by the Turks or something. I did see one report that finally mentioned that when the Russians rescued some of them, they rescued them in the water. So it looks like literally when they evacuated, they meant everybody off the ship. And these guys jumped overboard who had survived. So it was a catastrophic explosion. It's just not clear whether more than 50 people survived. And the only problem is we may never know, is what I was reading today. But very, wow. No, this was a huge, I'm sorry guys, yawning at you. Wow. This was a huge victory. This is funny for Ukraine. I even had a little coffee before the show. It didn't matter. I had a little coffee. It helped, I think. I'm awake, but it just, like I said, it was just so, oh my God, 3 hours in a dentist chair, literally, and you're just getting bored to death. Oh, crazy. Let me pull up another TikTok question, and then we're going to wrap up soon, guys, because we're going an hour and 20 minutes, and I am exhausted. Will Russia be held accountable for war crimes? Well, that's going to be a big one, too. I mean, part of the problem is that war crimes are notoriously difficult to prosecute. It's especially once you go higher up, because you've got to find the, I'm going to keep yawning at you guys. Well, let's start at the top. Putin. How do you prove Putin? Thank you for the sunflowers. They're waking me up a little. How do you prove Putin knew? Bucha. How do you prove Putin knew? How do you, let's start at the beginning. How do you prove the individual, not how, but you have to do this. You would have to prove what crime happened and who did it. So you'd have to start with each individual, sorry, Stacy, each individual crime. Can we find the individual soldier or soldiers who did it? Find out, were they ordered to do it? So like, was the head of their unit involved? Find out, was the colonel or whoever higher up? Find out the general in charge of that region. Oh, those pancakes again. I do like those. You're making me hungry. Was the general in charge of the region involved? Even if he didn't say, go kill that man on the bicycle, did he say, go in there and, wipe that town clean? If there's any civilians, kill them, And for example, there are recordings that the Ukrainians have of communications the Russians made. And there was one the other day, I think I even read it to you guys, where somebody's talking to one of his commanders or whatever and says, there's a car over there. I can't tell if it's military or not, but there's 2 civilians in it. And he says, what are you doing? Kill them now. Kill them all. What are you doing? And he's like, okay. Like, so that kind of stuff, that soldier's in trouble. The man who told him is in trouble if they can figure out who it is. But getting higher and higher up, it gets harder and harder to prove. So one would hope that there is some way, actually, one would hope that at the very least, that question, I would have stopped after this. That question about the state terrorism thing is very interesting, because maybe it would open up the U.S. courts to the Ukrainians being able to sue. Now, again, they're far away, but lawyers will find a way to be able to help them. Would be really interesting. All right, unless I missed, that was just a cup of coffee. All right, guys, we're going to stop this. I'll hang and talk for about 10 minutes till 8:30, and then we'll call it quits, because I'm just so tired. Oh my God. The thing is, now it's starting to hit me. And you know what, too? I finally finished the taxes today. So I think that was part of it, too. I was doing my taxes, and I was kind of like, oh. I always forget about that. Thank you. Was it Sylvia Marie, I think, on TikTok, did this little like sleeping teddy bear going to bed thing, which she's been doing like at the end of the broadcast, which is very funny. No, I can hang for a few minutes. Don't worry. So I finished. Now is the time when we all hang and chat a little bit about non-political stuff. So I will say I finally got to the end of watching the originals, and I'm very upset, but I don't want to ruin it for anybody. Let's just say it doesn't ruin it. Let's just say that show has no problem killing people. I'm a little upset. It did not. The ending didn't make sense to me, and it also didn't feel totally believable. One part of the ending I could accept. It was obvious. The second part that went with it struck me as ridiculous. And we don't want to ruin it for anybody, but if you know the show, you know what I'm talking about. One, I get. Why did the second one? That made no sense to me. It's the last season 5 or whatever. It's the end. It's on Netflix. Very good show. Very good show. I call it one of my vampire shows. It is a follow-on, spin-off of the Vampire Diaries. I never liked Vampire Diaries. I'm going to try again. I found Vampire Diaries going very slow for me. It felt like a soap opera. This is not slow. It took me a few episodes to kind of get it, because they're trying to feed you a lot of information at the beginning. And I remember kind of going, oh my God, the actors are all wonderful. The storyline is very good. I haven't watched 60 Minutes yet. It's on my machine. I promise I will. I promise. But it's a good show. Yeah, I finished it. It's very good. But it bummed me out. Like I said, the end pissed me off. Mom's doing fine. Going to see her on Sunday. So that'll be nice. I've got her. I taught Mom, because it's funny because Mom's the cook, but I taught Mom last time I was there how to make no-knead bread. So she's been making that. I cut the recipe in half and wrote it out. I mean, because Mom knows how to cook, but it's been a long time that she's made bread. And it's nice because, she's 92, so like her arthritis and everything. But this way, literally, flour, salt, water, yeast, mix. I said, mix it for 5 or 10 seconds. That's it. Cover it, let it sit for 2 hours, put it in the fridge, you're done. If anything, the hardest part was teaching her how to then grab the flour and make loaves, because she never really made bread like that. Like the Greeks, we make an Easter bread and a New Year's bread. Our Easter bread is a lot like all the other probably Eastern Orthodox Easter breads. I'm going to guess we should have asked the Ukrainians that were here if they were here. They probably have a similar bread. Eastern Europeans have it, kind of like the Jewish challah in a way, but sweeter in our case. But with that, you braid the bread. So moms never had to get like a loaf of dough and kind of, form the dough into a sphere and make it nice and tight. So I actually had to teach her to do it. It was kind of funny teaching her, because I was like, Pascha is Greek Easter. Yeah, or it's Easter in Greek. Yes. But it was funny teaching mom to do it, because I was kind of like, well, here's how you do it. And it was hard to like tell her how to do it, But anyway, I'm going to see mom on Sunday. And then my friend Damien is going to sit here so that my house doesn't get robbed by everybody online who I've told I'm not going to be here. Not you guys, but people would do that on Facebook and stuff years ago. They would look at people posting vacation pictures and they'd go and rob their homes, which was smart in an evil, criminal kind of way. But, it was funny. And not funny, but oh my God, I'm tired. All right, 5 more minutes, guys. Sasha's doing well. She is still in her bed, I believe. Oh, my neck. Oh, that's the other thing too. I hurt my neck. I did one of these weird things to my neck where like all I did was turn my head and I heard something go like click. And I went, oh no. And all week, the muscles, it's okay, but they've been tight all week. So I'm a little annoyed about that too. I'm falling apart, people. I'm absolutely falling apart. Actually, I did take something for my neck. And I've got a sneaking suspicion that maybe, thank you, that makes me feel better. I have a sneaking suspicion that maybe why I'm tired. I wasn't thinking, but I took something because it was really bothering me. So it's entirely possible. Oh, well. Yeah, no, I'm going to make some chocolate after this. I may even make some food. I've got a pizza in the freezer. I think I'm going to put on a pizza because I want chocolate, but I almost want something a little more substantial than chocolate, Yep, Ukrainian Orthodox. It's got to be the Ukrainian Easter bread is called Pascha. Get out of here. Oh, how funny. Because Pascha is the word for Easter in Greek. That is the funniest thing. Oh, air raid siren. Okay, John Diaz, go do your thing. Our other Ukrainian was here. He's signing off because there's an air raid siren. Man. All right, buddy. Stay safe. Pascha. Yeah, we say Pascha. Pascha. It's a he, which is an X, which is pronounced like an aspirated H in Greek. Pascha. Wow. Oh, man. Ooh la la. I think John D may have already signed off. People are putting up the sunflowers for you on TikTok if you're still there. Thank you, TikTokers. You're cracking me up. Sorry, my allergies are getting to me too now. You're cracking me up with the sunflowers. That's definitely going to be a theme now. Every time the Ukrainians, it's like instead of saying drink, it's going to be, oh, there's Ukrainian sunflower. And we all throw sunflowers on the screen. Very cute. Oh, my God. All right, guys, I'm going to say goodnight. As always, I'll start saying goodnight on TikTok because I watched Legacies. I liked it a lot. Yeah. I'm definitely watching Legacies. I was trying to think with Happy Easter. I'm forgetting if it's Kalo Pascha or Kali Pascha? It's either Kali or Kalo Pascha. I think Kalo Pascha. Am I wrong? Is there anybody Greek out there? I'm forgetting masculine, feminine here. That's funny. The Pascha is the Easter bread. That's funny. But I think it's Kalo Pascha. I think. God, Kalo. That's what okay, thank you. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking because Kali doesn't make sense. Kalo Pascha. Yeah. So we say Kalo, K-A-L-O, Pascha. And again, the Pascha is like P-A-S-H-A, but it's H. So Pascha. Kalo Pascha. There we go. Doc Remington is confirming it. All right, that's what I thought. I always get worried when people ask me Greek stuff because I'm like, oh God, I'm going to screw it up. Especially the gender, because for Americans, gender is very difficult in foreign languages because we don't use it. It's just a very strange, we don't use it. So the idea of memorizing each object in masculine, feminine, and again, Greek does it too, is always like, oh my God. Anyway, okay, guys. All right, TikTok, I'm going to be signing off because it always is like a little bit of a delay. Flex Seal. Somebody said, should we send the Russian Navy Flex Seal? Yeah, we should go. Well, there's lots of ideas for protests outside the Russian embassy we could have. That would be one of them. We should we could, oh my God, imagine showing up at the Russian embassy and we could bring like duct tape, Flex Seal, all the super glue, like bring all the stuff to Band-Aids, like all the stuff they need to repair their submarine. Oh God, it would be the funniest damn thing just to piss them off. It would make a great little news thing too, the pictures. Boy, that would tick them off. All right, guys. All right, I'm going to say goodbye, YouTube, and then TikTok, like I said, I'm saying goodbye because it's going to cut off soon. And I'm getting too yawny, and I'm going to get you all yawning, and it's rude and everything else. All right, YouTube. I didn't tell folks. So tomorrow we are going to do noon Eastern US. I'm sorry, but I've got something at 2 o'clock I want to do. And because I know you guys typically make me go late, I'm doing it early. So we're going to do noon on Saturday, 12 o'clock Washington, D.C. time on Saturday. And Sunday, we're not going to do it at all because Sunday I'm flying. So that allows me to fly, get to Chicago. I'm going to be tired. I'm going to have to, with the dog, it's just like I'm exhausted. So we'll pick it up again on Monday at the usual time. Well, I shouldn't say the usual time. Monday, I'm going to figure out what time. It's going to be earlier, but I will post it on TikTok and I will post it on YouTube. My guess is it'll probably be like 5 o'clock Eastern, something like that. We'll see. 5, maybe even 4 o'clock Eastern. We'll see. All right, guys, that's it. Otherwise, it's noon for tomorrow, noon Eastern US. Like I said, I'll put something up immediately. So thank you, guys. Thank you all. I know Sunday you're going to have to go and be social. It's like COVID ending. Same kind of thing. Like you've got to go. Now you got to go outside. All right, YouTube, I'm hanging up and then I'm getting to TikTok. Thanks, guys.